All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this Jake Shields. If I say Jake Matthews when I'm talking about Jake Shields, just forgive me. I just bet on Jake Matthews. We're talking about Jake Shields and when he beat up Mike Jackson Esquire yesterday. We're going to talk about that because Jake Shields just put out a new statement about the fight, and I'm trying to figure out whether or not he just made himself more or less exposed to legal ramifications, because there are definitely two ways that you could look at it. And I mean, basically, I want to read his statement to you guys, and I'm going to say whether or not I think he is more likely to have a legal problem or less, and I'll tell you exactly why on both sides. And also, we just get to revisit this incident because it's my favorite incident in a very long time. Because, when you're kind of like a coherent person who loves America, and generally hates racists, you see all these people that are, making your entire civilization completely toxic, while, sitting on a cloud of virtue where they're like, oh God, you're a Nazi. And you're like, you are the worst people on earth. When one of them finally gets called on it and then gets beat up, I got to be honest, dude. I like it, man. I like it. I'm not condoning it. I kind of am, but I'm not promoting it. I'm not saying you should go do it because I would get in trouble. Don't go do it because I would get in trouble. But if it just happened to happen, I certainly get a lot of satisfaction from that because it's what they deserve. Anyway, but before we get into it, like we talk about on every single video, the agreement that I make, gentleman's agreement, handshake, you can watch all of my content as many times as you want. All I ask is that you subscribe to the channel. It takes 1 second. You can do it right now. It'll be over. It costs you nothing. You have full access to my entire library of content. It's the jar at the front of the store. Take the candy, leave the quarter. I appreciate everybody doing that. It is a nice thing to do, and not doing it would be weird. I appreciate you guys doing that, though. And then also, if you want to see me talk about P-Gate, okay, the only place I'm allowed to do that is on the Swagit app. The link is in the description. This is not even an ad. You go download that, find me, Real Jesse on Fire on Swagit, and not only are you going to get entered to win 2 tickets to UFC 285, just comment on any of those. Don't comment a million times. Just comment once or twice, and I will have you entered into the drawing for UFC 285. And then also, you will get to see all of my thoughts, which will be rolling out about P-Gate, which I can't talk about anywhere else. Anyway, so what happened here? Really quick. So Jake Matthews went to the PI because Mike Jackson Esquire, you may remember him. You may remember Mike Jackson. He beat CM Punk. His only victory is a professional fighter, if I recall. His only victory ever was against CM Punk, but then it got overturned because I believe I don't know. I think it turned into a no contest because he was smoking crack with an 11-year-old. And then, I don't know, something about exchanging bodily fluids, or I don't know, something like that. And they turned it to a no contest. I don't know. Or maybe he got caught. Maybe it was he smoked weed. I can't really remember. I mean, because if we're just making accusations, that are completely baseless, like you called Jake Matthews a Nazi, I say, yeah, I think the reason it was a no contest is because he was caught smoking crack with a child. He's like, that's not true. Oh, it's not? Oh, that's not true? Jeez. Well, I guess then we're just going to have to stick to not saying the things that aren't true, right? It's really going to limit your responses, though, because when I go on your Twitter, you have 2 responses. Okay, Nazi. Okay, domestic terrorist. Or actually, okay, did you leave your hood at home? So, I don't know, man. If you're not going to be able to call people racist who aren't racist, what are you going to say, dude? So maybe you should just leave it be. Maybe you should just allow me to say that you were smoking crack with a child. That way, you still can choose from your 3 options of Twitter responses to people who are just criticizing your idiotic ideology. I don't know. You tell me, dude. Do you want to take the credibility hit that maybe smoke crack with a kid? Or do you want to stop calling people Nazis? I don't know, man. It's up to you. So, yeah. So that was that, CM Punk, and then that got overturned. And then he won 1 fight when the other guy got disqualified for hurting him by gouging his eyeball. Woo! You win. He's all, yes, I knew I could do it. And then he got knocked out in highlight fashion. Many of you have seen the meme of him and again, I don't take, have you guys ever heard me make fun of a fighter for losing fights before this? No, never, actually. I don't do that. But this kind of thing brings out the worst in me. I can't stand it. I can't stand people that just go, they're all, wait, Is that an American flag in your that was a weird accent for that person. This guy's got an American flag in his Twitter bio. Well, why don't you have all this Nazi paraphernalia? He literally said that on his Twitter about a guy who had a thing that said MAGA with like a American flag in it or something. And then he had an American flag over here. And he said to the guy that he's filled his entire Twitter with Nazi symbolism. You're like, hang on a second. Just so I understand, in your mind, a person who votes for Trump is a Nazi. Yeah. And you're basing that on what exactly? That's the kind of response you get from a person like that. You're basing that on what? They're all, are you serious? On them being Nazis. You're all, are you familiar with what Nazis are? You know, like, are you familiar with what a Nazi is? Yeah, I think I'm pretty familiar. Really, what are they? They're fascist, racist, murderous lunatics. You're all right. Correct. So how are you connecting that to, this blue collar guy over here who voted for Donald Trump because he wasn't down with a lot of these insane things that the left was doing? He's all, all I heard was Trump and Nazi. Like we said, murderous, racist, fascist. You're all fascists. Do you know what fascism is, dude? Do you know what fascism is? Yeah, I do. It's Donald Trump. Nope, no. That's incorrect, dude. That is not what fascism is. You should just, for fun, okay? For fun, you should go look up what fascism is and then rewind over the previous 2 to 3 years and just go look at the interactions between the government and the pharmaceutical companies and the media all together related to the virus. You should maybe go take a look at that and then compare it to your definition of fascism. I really, honest to God, think honest to God, I think he might be the dumbest guy on the internet. I really do, dude. I think that if I went and compiled a TikTok, like a clips of like the most lunatic TikTok people on TikTok, where it's like, hi, I'm doing a tutorial on how you use ghost pronouns.
Nobody needs you to advocate for how difficult it is to use gender-neutral pronouns. If you misgender me by mistake, fix it and move on.
Homosexual people may decide to have a sexual relationship despite not feeling sexual attraction while others don't. Both are completely valid and communication is key.
What are your preferred pronouns? They, them. Oh, I've never heard those before. What are they? They're what's known as neopronouns. What are neopronouns? They're basically your own custom pronouns. When no other pronouns seem to fit, you come up with your own pronouns. Anything can really be a pronoun.
Hi, I'm Jax, and I just came up with new neopronouns that combine he, him, she, her, and they, them, okay? So hear me out. They, them, theirs, okay? They, them, their, whatever you want to consider it, right?
I'm trying to phrase this nicely, and I can't yell, but I want to. So, Black people and people of color in the queer community aren't seen by white queers as queer as they are. On almost every occasion where I've been discussing my queerness or my experiences with queerness with white gays, they speak to me in a condescending way and they treat me as if I am a straight person imposing on a queer subject because they don't see us as queer as them. Queerness is seen as something that is white and a way to compare oppression, and it's used to compare oppression. So it's impossible for white gays to see us as gay as them. The LGBTQ community has been used as a front to hide racism or to excuse racism. Do research on Black queerness, please.
Just so we're clear, I think Mike is dumber than those guys. I think he's dumber. I think he's actually dumber than those people. I think he's the dumbest guy on the internet. And if you really want to entertain yourself, just go look at his Twitter. Just go look at his responses to people who are like, hey man, not cool calling people Nazis. His response every time will be like, okay, whitey, okay, white Nazi, you're all right, guy. Anyway, so he sucks. And so when Jake Shields beat him up, I was very happy about that. But then Jake's obviously my dude. I fucking love that guy, man. For a multitude of reasons. I just talked to him on Twitter yesterday. But for the record, when he put this statement out, I'm like, maybe that was a good idea and maybe not. Okay, so here is what his statement said, and then we'll discuss why I think it could go either way. Okay, so he said, fighting's not the internet. It's one thing if some dork wants to talk crap to me, I'm going to ignore it. But if a fighter is disrespecting me and calling me a Nazi and a white nationalist and thinks it's going to be cool, it's not. So I had to teach the kid a lesson. I just tossed him like the little girl he is and slapped him a few times before I got pulled off. The UFC PI staff told me to leave, so hopefully we can smooth that over. I know I was out of line, so hopefully I'll smooth it over with the PI. I know I shouldn't have done that, but the guy had for months just been popping on my Twitter and calling me a Nazi, which is complete defamation. I do business with Jewish people, and so they're calling me a Nazi. And people that know me know that I'm not that way. But what if I didn't know these people I was working with? I could lose big business deals if he's sitting there telling people I'm a Nazi and a white supremacist. It's such a slander. I could sue him for defamation. I've already talked to my attorney, and he says we have a strong defamation case if he wants to go there. Okay, so I'm serious about this. Anybody I'm sure you know if you align with me on stuff. If you ever end up in a situation like this, ever, and you're not a person who has like a PR team or whatever, hit me up and I will help you. I'm serious. I'm going to show you exactly why with how I kind of critique this right here. Okay. So right out of the gate, the statement itself, I would have advised him against. And the reason for that is because he just admitted guilt on here. Okay. Because like let's say that this guy, I would put nothing past this guy, Mike Jackson Esquire, nothing. Like that he wouldn't even be embarrassed to sue Jake Shields for causing no damage, just punking him a little bit because he's been calling him a Nazi online. Like, dude, take that like a man, dude. Okay. It's not like there's anyway, I wouldn't put it past him to sue at all. And that's what he said he was going to do. He said he's going to sue him. Okay. So if you end up in a lawsuit, right, he has to prove who the aggressor was. Okay. Now, unless you think that the PI people or whoever were going to get involved in this case and testify on behalf of him, I doubt that. I seriously doubt that they were going to get involved in some civil case when they'd be like, nah, I don't think I'm going to do that. I doubt it, right? And the video doesn't start until the whole thing has already started. If Shields wants to make a statement and say, this guy attacked him, he could have done that. Then it's he said. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I approached him and then he took a swing at me and I was defending myself. Jake Shields took his ability to do that away here. He made a statement that was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done this. It's on me. He was talking crap. I attacked him. Okay, so like legally, you're not allowed to do that, right? As much as we should be able to do that. Oh, you called me a Nazi? It's just like Tyson said. People have gotten way too used to saying shit online and not getting punched in the face for it, you know? But nonetheless, you just need to strategize against what, you know, like your adversary. And if this guy has already threatened to sue, start thinking in lawsuit terms and don't do that. Don't do that. Even, you know, there's 20 witnesses. Doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. Don't assume that they're going to talk just because they're going to talk. This guy doesn't have, who, like, you're telling me you couldn't come up with a couple of those people that come in and say, like, no, he swung at me? If you got two people that are saying he swung at him first, and you got him with however many people saying he swung at me first, that's a stalemate. They'll throw it out. They're like, there's no damage to you. Fuck off, Mike Jackson. You're a professional fighter. Oh, you got your feelings hurt that he put you on the ground? Really? What? How much damage did he do? Okay, because that's the other thing. If you're gonna sue, okay, even if a person lights you up, dude, like a person really blitzkriegs you, if there's no like medical bills, the only thing that you could sue for is you have to get into like, you know, emotional distress and blah blah blah, and like, you know, and honestly, the way they value that a lot of times is like, how much work did you miss? You have to pull all kinds of rabbits out of a hat to try to justify the number that you're suing for. So this guy, you know, like he's literally gonna have to say like, oh, you know, I'm afraid for my life now and blah blah blah. It's a fucking joke. His case is slim, but nonetheless, just you shouldn't have fucking admitted guilt. You know what I mean? But the reason why I think he did it is because at the end he says, but here's what's gonna happen if he sues me. I think that's what he was doing. He's like, if he sues me, I'm gonna sue him for defamation, right? So like it was like he's handing him responsibility, but then behind it is a hammer. You know, it's like, here, yeah, it was me. You didn't need to do that. But like, you know, he could have done the exact same thing except say he swung on me. But nonetheless, it's like, okay, here's responsibility. But here's a defamation lawsuit. In the event that you decide to sue me here, I'm going to sue you for this. Now, that's good strategy. And that's probably exactly what he was thinking about doing from the beginning. Hand him this so he can show him the hammer. You could have just showed him the hammer without giving him the thing. And also, you made a huge mistake with how you frame this. So when you are going to sue someone, right, you have to justify the number, right? Like the fact that they defamed you is irrelevant if it didn't lead to actual loss of jobs. Okay. So like you have to be able to say that you actually lost jobs. It can't just be like, I could have lost this or I could have lost that. So like if I was going to do this statement, I would have reframed the beginning and I would have blamed him for the fight. So basically exactly the same thing. We're to do the same thing, except I'm going to blame him for the fight publicly and say, make him understand that like, even if he tries to go to court, it's like, well, they're going to say that it was me that started it and we're going to countersue me. And then he's like, fuck, dude. So I could end up actually at fault. Be like, yeah, you got 2 witnesses to say it was you. And then with this stuff, it's like, okay, so he says, he's been calling me a Nazi. People that know me know I'm not that way. But what if I didn't know these people I was working with? I could lose big business deals if he's sitting there telling people I'm a Nazi and a white supremacist. You say, I already lost multiple business deals due to being called a Nazi by this guy on Twitter. And the reason for that, it's not like it's not like this guy's fucking smart enough to know the difference. But if he does talk to an attorney, the attorney is going to tell him this because the attorney's going to look at this. He's going to be like, he already admitted that he didn't lose anything. Like he's already said in writing that he hasn't lost any jobs. So like he's going to need to come up with like a way that this actually impacted when he already said in writing that it didn't actually impact him. And it was lucky that those people knew him personally because otherwise it could have impacted him. Right. So basically you took all the wind out of your lawsuit by saying that you weren't actually affected by his slander. Does that make sense? Like, it's like, if think about it like this. It's like, dude, if you were about to get if you're going to get a movie deal and you're going to get $10 million to do 3 movies. And then this guy comes out and says you're a Nazi, total fucking lie. And you lose that deal. And then you could prove that it was, then you could sue him for that $10 million. But if you're like if you're just a regular guy, you got a regular job, he calls you a Nazi, you have a conversation with your boss about it, it doesn't hurt anything, nothing happens, you don't get fired, you need to be suing for something that they can justify the cost of. So I think the strategy was sound. I would have tweaked it for next time. So if anybody ever finds himself in a situation like this, hit me up. I'm totally serious. I love playing this fucking game, dude. I love it. And there are people in high places that can definitely testify to that because I would never talk about it. But I have been dick deep in some things strategy wise where it's like, here's what I would do. Tweak that, tweak that, tweak that, tweak that. And then boom, it's in the press or it's whatever. I love doing this shit. I love it. I'm never going to charge you money. I fucking love it. Anyway, I swear on my children, it'll keep me warm in the coldest nights to know that I helped you. I'll never take a penny. If you know that reference, good for you. Anyway, that's probably enough. Mike Jackson's a fucking joke. Jake Shields a badass. Good job, Jake.